and welcome a few new faces and then several from our department from Ed Services. So for those of you who do not know myself, I'm Traci Theis. I'm the Ed Tech Coordinator and Math Coordinator here at the county. And this is Michael Garrett. He's the ETC Manager, and so the Education Technology Center, helping run the portal. And today we're going to do Google Essentials, give you a little bit of information on searching, how to do some tools that will help you with that, and hopefully make it easier for you when you're looking for things. And then go into some of the essentials with Google Drive, and show you how to do a sheet, a doc, and a form. And then we have some material here that you can just refer back to later when you need to reference it. And there's tons of resources out there. So anytime you want to learn more, you can pretty much Google it and find out more than what we can offer you even. So we kind of borrowed from another presentation that we had seen at a Google Summit. So in acknowledgement of the people who created the first slides for us, slides 4 through 11 basically are created from the Santa Clara Office of Education, and also from San Jose, from another high school, from Kyle and Elizabeth. So we're going to be using their slides to help kind of give you some more knowledge. And so first thing, we'll start off with a little familiar with, what was it, Cash Cab? I think it was, where the people in New York City would jump in a taxi cab, and then Ben Bailey would ask them questions as they would be driving around the city, and they would win money depending on how long their time was in the taxi cab. So he is going to share his viewpoint.
You know who else has been pissing me off lately? Google. You guys know Google? A couple of people have heard of it. The rest of you guys are like, Google? What's Google? Google it and find out. Right? It's the only way to learn anything anymore is to Google it. And that was fine at first because things were simple. It was like Google was my friend, right? I'd be like, hey, Google, what do you know about this? And Google would be like, well, Ben, here's what I've got for you. Things were simple then. Google was my friend. But somewhere along the line, things changed, and Google turned into that annoying friend who will never let you finish a story because it keeps interrupting you, trying to guess the ending before you can get to it. Right, now I sit down, I type the letter P, and Google is like, Pacific Ocean? Is it Pacific Ocean? Is it? Is it pacifier? Is it pack rat? Is it peanuts? Is it piss bag? What is it? I need to know what it is right now. Tell me what it is right now. I can't wait anymore.
All right, so you could appreciate that on how it basically kind of wants to tell you what you're going to be guessing or putting in and typing. But a lot of times you'll see kids just actually use the Google text, talk part. They just talk to Google. Google, tell me this. Google this. And they don't even type anymore. They're able to just talk back and forth. So it is a feature that you might not find too easy to use in the office setting, but at home you might talk to it's much easier to do. So it's almost like Siri in that sense. So the first thing what we're going to be going through is some of the tools that they might call the core information services. Chrome being the browser, and there's a lot of different features within Chrome that you can use. If you happen to have a Chromebook, it also will connect those to your browser once you're in the Chromebook as well, and it just is enhancements into how you use your browsing system. It's little features, and they're just extensions, they call it. And then we have the Google search that we'll go into, and then also ways to use it for translations, getting news, keeping your notes, and there's this fusion tables is another thing, and looking at popular trends. These are some more advanced things we're not going to be covering most of just today. Search, and then some of the tools that you're going to be using in the work setting. This is happening in businesses and in education, using Drive to basically kind of create an online cloud service, which is basically taking everything that you used to store either right on your desktop or your laptop, or through our network here. We have the S drive that you might store things on, or H drive in some cases. It's basically kind of putting it into a cloud, which is sending it up, just imagine, into another server, and we're able to access it from any point. We don't have to be sitting at our desk here at work to get that information. So that's why they kind of call it the cloud, so that you can go anywhere in the world and still access that data that you want to get to. Then within the drive, we have these other features. Docs, which will act like a Word document for you. And it allows you to also then, save it and then open it onto a Word document if you were working with a PC, which has the software for a Word document. You could open it then in that and see it in that way. But the way that you would see it in Google is called Docs. Sheets is the same thing that would be comparable to Excel spreadsheets. And then Forms, which I guess would be comparable to SurveyMonkey. That's the best example I can think of. But this Forms is really easy to use. It's nice and simple. It works for taking and collecting data, sending out surveys, if you're in the classroom using it for quizzes. Slides, again, like a PowerPoint. So anything that you could integrate from PowerPoint, you could save it in a slide and then even save it back and reopen it in PowerPoint on a PC. And then drawings is, we're not going to go into it, but it's just a nice little standalone where you can do different types of updates to your images and drawings within that whole different setting. And then calendar, which we all have access to the calendar. So for instance, on our Ed Tech Talks, we have a separate calendar that shows all of our dates that we have. This is separate from our Microsoft Outlook calendar that we have for our email, which is a calendar of all of our events with what we're doing. And then content creation. Google Sites, if you've heard of that, it's basically creating a free way of creating a website in a real basic way. We have one created for the CEC. They have some basic themes that you can use. You can just set up a blank template and kind of make it work for you. It's very simple, but it takes a little bit, just like a couple of days of getting used to it, because it was like knowing that you have to just repeat a few different steps to make it work each time. But a lot of kids are using it for digital portfolios and projects. Teachers are using it for all their storage of some of their homework or their lesson plans, or accessing information to their parents for contact information, letters home. It's all very easy to use. Blogger, a lot of people are writing their own blog pages, so Blogger is the one associated with it. And then Picasa is what they used to call it for the video and collages and photos, but they have this image now that you'll see the photos, but they're basically one and the same, but it's new. And this one works in sync with Google+, which is a feature that we can use and access within Slowco. We just added it into the Ed Services. So it shares circles and connects you in networks. Like you might have family, you might have friends from work, you might have a bunch of teachers and educators in a circle, and you're able to connect to different groups based on interest or topic. So, and then YouTube is owned by Google as well, so how to share there, and then how to capture your YouTube and use it through editing through your mobile device. Some other services that they have then is the Google Maps, which I'm sure most of you are pretty familiar with. It's similar to using MapQuest or something, but it's just real easy. And to me, the newest version on the phone is, the mobile device is just even better. They've just updated it, and you can just hit it and you see traffic really nice and clear, better than the iPhone Apple Maps that comes with the iPhone. That one you just get little dots for traffic. And this one gives you a solid red line if it's traffic, or green or yellow. It's much more visible and much more easy to see if you're trying to look at it something quickly. So Google Earth, of course, and then Google Sky is going up and looking at the map of the sky. I haven't used these resources as much, and Maps Engine Lite. And then communication services, some that you may have heard of. Has anyone heard of Google Hangouts? Okay, that's like the new thing that's growing and growing. And that's where I think actually, instead of having sometimes a meeting here, or if we're all over the county, do a Google Hangout. Everyone can get onto a computer, especially if you have like a Chromebook. You just here's your, the camera. I just sat there. I was at the SEPTA conference the other day, and I had a hangout on the Google Summit, and I just sat it in the hotel room and did my conference call through my computer. It was really simple through a Google Hangout. And it's just easy because you end up seeing everybody that's on it at the same time. And some of these Hangouts are worldwide, and they have a ton of people joining in. So, Google Plus, some of you may have gotten a little notification to update your profile, and you can put a picture, you can put information, you can add people that you want to connect with, or find more people, or go into different communities. But it's just kind of a nice network of sharing and collaborating with people. And there's a lot of features within that. And then Talk, you actually can do real-time communication with this. This is a feature that a lot of people use, like a free phone service essentially. And then Translate, and then help outs. Those are like, if you need specific help from people. Most are free. Sometimes you have to pay some expert to give you some help on some topic. All right, this is just a quick overview of a lot of tools, but we're only going to focus on a few. And the first area we're going to work on is how to help you search better. So
as you can see, there's so many different tools within Google nowadays that we can spend a week really kind of going through each one. But since we're really doing Google Essentials, the two areas that in a work environment that kind of come to my mind are the search tool, which is the essence of Google, but really being proficient at search and productive in terms of finding things quickly and finding the right information is a real skill still. So we're going to kind of spend a little bit of time on that, how to be a good searcher. And then of course the other thing is Drive, that kind of expanse of all of the tools that we're used to using on our desktop from the Microsoft Office suite, now available online, plus additional tools. So that's where Traci will spend some time. So I gave everyone a handout. It says better searches, better results. Did anyone not get that? Okay, if not, we can pass those out. So this will be just kind of a little cheat guide for you to be able to take back to your desk and reference. When you're doing a search within Google, I'll pull that up here, get out of our presentation, and this is just kind of a snapshot of some of those as well. Here we go. That's fine. So when we do our search in Google, right, we're used to this interface, we're used to just kind of putting our keyword in and jumping from there and getting a million results and hoping that what we want comes up at the top and we don't have to go through multiple pages, right? You'll notice from our little cheat sheet here that there are some things that we can be doing when we enter our search results to help guide our search and help narrow down even before we start getting our results. Okay, so we'll talk about some of those. Basics of the search, you can see here, you enter your term, click Google search. The I'm feeling lucky is kind of a holdover from the original Google when they launched in '97, which allowed you to put in a search term, click I'm feeling lucky, and it would take you to the very first search result, so it would kind of save you a step. Now, though, when you mouse over it, you'll see it will kind of change, and it will show I'm feeling artistic, I'm feeling lucky, I'm feeling playful, so it'll take you to different ones, and those are kind of some of Google's different suite of tools, so it'll kind of take you to one of those to explore, essentially. But most of the time, you're probably just going to be entering your search term. Like Traci was mentioning, you can also enter vocal searches. So if you have a microphone on your device, you can do that and just click on search by voice and speak into it. And you can ask questions and it will speak back to you. Kind of interesting. Probably more useful if you're on a mobile device. Typically you're going to have those on your mobile device, but maybe not on your desktop computer. So a couple of things before we get into the actual searching. The tools across the top you may or may not have spent any time looking at. So you can see Traci's logged into her Google Plus account right here. You may not have anything here if you're not already logged in. The other main search area within Google that people go to a lot is Google Images, right? So that's your image search, and we'll take a look at that. So that's why they have that listed here. The grid here is where it's going to take you to some of the other default Google apps, and we'll explore a few of these, but we're mostly going to be exploring just the Google search and Google image search. Okay, but we'll take a look at a few of these. Okay, notifications, if you're logged in, you have that tied in. jumping directly into Google+. And then you can have your account information here if you are logged in, or you can change. You can have multiple profiles listed here.
So, Michael, if
Yes.
you're logged in but those don't show,
If you don't see any of these,
well, I see the drive and the images. Mine just says plus you, it doesn't, because I haven't set up a plus account yet. It's just a
Probably.
regular Google.
yeah, if you haven't set up a Plus profile, you may not see that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, and for what we're going to do here, really, a lot of these, we're not going to spend any time on. The main thing is just to know you can be logged in. There are some things, if you do a search, you may then want to save your search results, or there's some tie-ins between your search and some things that you would be created within your account. So the other main thing, again, like I mentioned, is just this is kind of your jump-off point to get to other things. Okay, so let's just go ahead and we'll do a simple search here. So I'm going to search for single keyword. I'm typing in lions. You'll notice that what it did was it started, like he was saying in our video, it started completing, asking me if this is what I wanted, and it took me to my search results even before I hit return. So it's already kind of getting me to my results page. Okay, so of course you're used to your results looking somewhat like this. Because I did a broad term, it gave me a lot of different options. I could be looking for the sports team, I could be looking for the animal, I could be looking for a lot of different things. So it's kind of giving me a lot of options here. You'll notice, because I put in something that involved the sports team, it's showing me the latest scores, the last time this team played, all kinds of information. So there are a few different little Google shortcuts that I'll show you as we go along here. Things where you can just put in simple terms in order to see stock quotes and movies that are playing locally to you, and the weather and things like that we'll take a look at. Okay, but you see in this case I have 214 million results when I just searched the keyword lions. Okay, so now I want to narrow down, right? I can either be more explicit in my search term, okay, and or I can use some of the built-in tools. So let's take a look at some of the search tools. So just below, you'll see by default web is always selected here. If you wanted to search a different media type, a different area, you could select one of those, but we'll stay in web for now. So over here on the right, we're going to click on search tools. Okay, and when I do that, it drops down some more options for me here. Okay, the very first one is anytime. So this is saying when this content was last updated or posted to the web, right? Because Google constantly has bots or spiders crawling the web looking for content, and it's always looking for updates. So I could say I'm looking for information on lions, either something that happened in the news within the last 24 hours, perhaps a lion attack. I don't know. I could do that and say, show me just the past 24 hours. Or again, if it's a sports thing, maybe I'm looking for something that just happened recently. So I can limit, or I can do a custom range as well. So maybe I'm looking for something that has a very specific date range. Okay, I can be that specific as well. Okay, next item over, defaults to all results. I can also choose reading level or verbatim. So we can take a look at that. So you notice when I click on reading level, they're adding some educational kind of focus here. It's actually doing some real-time assessment of the reading level of the text. And so it's showing me the results for my search, whether it's basic, intermediate, or advanced level writing there. Okay. All right, and then if I clear that result, I'm going to go back to my tool here. The other one is the geography. So by default, when you do a search within Google now, it will show you things that are relevant to that keyword within the area of wherever you're located. Okay, when you log in, it's knowing where you're located by your IP, by how you're accessing. So in this case, it knows that I'm coming from San Luis Obispo, California. So if I searched a keyword that was relevant to the area here, it would show me, for example, if I typed in mission, most likely it would show me some information about my local mission as opposed to if I was in San Diego.
How do you
Right?
select that? I mean, it has a check mark next to it, so now what?
Right, so if I wanted to choose a different, so by default it's going to show me my location, right, my current location. If I wanted to enter a different one, I could, where it says enter location, I could type in here,
No, it's
San Diego, California, for example, and set, okay? And so now you can see when I click on search tools, it's saying, I'm searching with this geographical area in mind. Okay?
It doesn't change your search results.
It did update the search results,
In the
and you
news
probably
changed.
see it more so depending on the search that you're doing. So again,
Okay.
I don't know if I can,
It did the news one, and you don't want to go into the other one because it was.
yeah.
Did you see the last topic?
Oh, no, I
We'll go
didn't
back
see
to
that.
one.
Okay.
But it just changed it from 5 hours ago to a day ago, and the other topic wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
depending on your search term, this may or may not be relevant, right? Your search term may not have a geographical,
It's right there.
element to it. So just depending on what it is you're looking for, the difference of whether or not you're looking locally or not may not matter. Okay, if you were searching for movies, for example, you probably would want to know what's playing locally as opposed to what's playing in San Diego. Just depending. Okay. All right, so those are, and I'm going to revert this back. So those are the basics of the search tools.
You might want to go back to San Diego.
What's that?
I would keep it as San Diego as your topic.
Oh, keep it in San Diego?
Yeah, just-
Okay. Tracy's trying to steer me in a certain direction here. Okay. Okay. So those are the basics of the tools for search. You'll notice a more drop-down menu here. Okay. That's going to just show you some of the other areas that you can search within. So, of course, web is the default. If you wanted to go into images, news, videos, books, depending on, again, what content type you're looking for, you can choose those. And these are just some other areas, so maps, shopping, flights. So images, of course, you're going to search within all the images available, and we'll show that in a few minutes. News, we can take a look at. Videos, it's going to search YouTube, Vimeo, a lot of different sites that have video content. Books, it's going to search full text within millions of books, and some of which you can read online, some you can read segments of. And then within more, of course, maps, you can do a search. If you're trying to find directions to a certain location, you can put that in your search term and choose maps. Shopping, maybe you're comparing prices on office products. You can do that, and we'll show you those. Flights, you can put in a flight number, and it will tell you, if it's on time, when it's going to land, all those kinds of things. And then their apps, which if you're familiar with the Google Chrome store, that's those. Okay, but again, we're going to start with web.
And I think the flights even allow you to just say Miami, and then like it will know, it like actually geolocates for you. Like Mark said, he was in one airport and he put in the city that he was flying into, and it just automatically picked up the right flight for him. So it knew where he was heading back to.
Right, and I think if you are on a mobile device and you're in that airport, it will tell you what gate number as well. So,
So it's really convenient.
yeah.
As soon as you land, you can know where to go. Instead of having to look at the boards.
Right. Okay, so again, just kind of knowing our area around here, and so what we're going to start doing is giving it a more complex search than lines, right? So we're going to go for multiple words. Anybody have anything that they're wanting to search for, anything that comes to mind? Anything that they're working on?
You want to do, remember how he did flowers and then we looked at the types later?
We can do that. I was wanting to do something like a phrase or a multiple word. Let's see what we can do.
Oh, multiple words.
So what if we do missions of California? Okay, so did missions of California, so we can see we get our results here, we've updated. You can see it's also pulling in content from our image search, right? So we can jump off there if we're looking for our multimedia content. In a lot of cases it will, again, because we told it we're in San Diego in this case, it's showing us the mission information for San Diego. Again, if I were to switch my location under search tools to San Luis Obispo, it would show us our local mission.
Yeah, you'd probably be okay with the new topic.
Yeah. Okay. Probably less so with this search term, but sometimes you're probably doing a search with keywords of multiple words, maybe a string of words, and you're getting results that are so broad, maybe it's matching on 2 of the words, but it's not getting the full phrase. Okay? And maybe what you're searching for is the phrase. And in that case, you would want to put your search term in quotes. Okay, so maybe I'm looking for a song called Missions of California, right? So rather than just putting in Missions of California where it's going to match each of those words individually, by putting it in quotes, now it's going to find anywhere where that exact phrase exists. Okay, so now I've gone from 55 million or whatever it was to 277,100,000. So you can see how now I'm able to narrow down and be more exact. Okay. The other thing you can do, let's see, let's change. So we were talking about songs and we're talking about missions. So let's talk about Hotel California. So somebody give me a line from Hotel California, the song.
On a hot desert highway.
On a hot desert highway. Okay.
Is that right or something? I don't know. Is that correct?
You leave anytime you want.
Yeah, that's what I think of.
Okay. Is that right?
Is
Is it coming up?
California, maybe that's more common.
Plenty of room at the.
Okay, so now, all right, you can check out anytime you like. So you can see, if I just type these very common words without the quotes, it would show me a lot of different things, right? And probably less narrowed down to this 38,000 results with entries specific to the lyrics from this song. Okay, so you can see how it benefits me by putting those in quotes, and I can be more exact in my search. The other thing is, again, on the song lyric example, maybe I remember some of the lyrics, but I don't know all the words. So what if I'm thinking, I can what anytime? I'm not sure. I've heard this before, so I'm going to use an asterisk, which is a wild card. Okay, so what it's going to do is it's still going to search that phrase, but it's going to show me things where any other number of words or phrases might fit in that space. Okay, so you can imagine different examples where you might need to have a wild card, where you're not sure of the word that's in a certain phrase, or you want to account for a variety of different words that may show up in that space. Okay, so it's going to give me more results. I've jumped now up to 200 million, but it is still showing me phrases, and I can see if I were to click in here, let's see if we're getting any alternates there. It still looks like it's mostly giving me that same phrase from the song, but you can see I'm getting different punctuations and different ways of writing it. Okay. I can also, let's see if I use the example of, go back to Lions. And in this case, let's say I'm looking for the Detroit Lions. Okay. Oops, helps if I spell it right. Okay. So maybe I'm looking for the Detroit Lions, but I want things that don't include the most recent game that they played, which is the Vikings. So I want to exclude, so I do a minus sign, Vikings. Well, in this case, it's showing me the Vikings. Here, let's see if I do it in quotes. That one might not be the best example. So you use a minus sign to exclude words, though, from your search results. But you can see, again, you can use a minus symbol before a word to exclude it from your search results. So again, if what you're searching is common enough and applies in a lot of different areas, so when we do our research, or when we do our presentations on California streaming, for example, we do a video search on cells, okay? We may be interested in the cells of biology. We may be interested in fuel cells. We may be interested in cells, the bars in the jail. It could be a lot of different cells. So you can use that to exclude. So I could type in cells, minus fuel, minus, depending on what it is that I'm looking for. Okay, different ways that I can refine my search. Okay, so similarly, I can use the tilde as to find synonyms for words. So you can see in the example they gave here, if I type tilde mobile phones, it's going to include in my search cell phone, cellular, different things that are similar to that search term. Okay, we can also use other expressions or. So if I'm searching, in this example, it says vacation, London, or Paris. Okay, so now it's going to show me where one or the other shows up in my search results.
It'll even spell correct your vacation.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of dummy proof, isn't it? Okay. So you can see from the list here, there's a lot of different things that you can do to kind of narrow down or to be more specific in terms of your search. Okay. One of the nice things I like to use is the site designation. So you may be searching for content and you're finding it from a variety of different locations, but you're really just interested in maybe one website that may or may not have a useful built-in search tool within the website. So maybe you've spent some time exploring the CDE website and found it difficult to find content. Well, Google indexes the CDE website. So what if you did this, and again, I'm going to use my quotes so I can be exact for Common Core. Oops, did I not do that right?
CA.
Yeah, thank you, CA. Okay, so now all of my results are going to be from the domain cde.ca.gov. Okay. All right, so a nice way for me to be able to focus my search on just this content from a specific website. Okay, and I did that by typing in site : and the URL, and it only matters what's the beginning part before you would have a slash. So google.com, it doesn't matter whatever you put after that. So YouTube, whatever it happens to be that you're wanting to search.
You put the word site
So
first.
show
I'd put in site, yeah, if you see this right here, it says
point
site.
to where it shows up on the list down below, so like,
You mean these?
yeah, so that part right there is
Yeah.
the part that he typed in after the word site.
Right.
Just, he skipped the www, but he put cde.ca.gov. That's the common thread that always is on their address bar.
Okay. So, we can compare that to if I did my search of, CDE Common Core, right? I'm going to get many more results, but not all coming from the CDE. In this case, the top results may be that, but they're not searching, they're probably searching the landing pages more than they're showing me the actual content. But you can see I'm getting Common Core, SCOE website, CDE Foundation, some other things that aren't from the Department of Education. Okay. If I'm looking for definitions, in a lot of cases I can just type a word directly into Google and get a definition directly there. In some cases it may not be a word that comes up immediately in their definition, so I can type in define : okay, and it's going to give me a definition there. In some cases, it's going to give me some additional tools. In this case, word origin, some other things like that. I can see some the etymology and other elements that I might want to look at for a word. Okay, you can do a similar kind of thing with conversions, where instead of doing a qualifier with a colon, you might just type in, oops, where'd my mouse go? So I could do, okay, 12 liters to gallons, and it's going to do that conversion for me. Right, and then it's giving me the tools, so I can then change that. Say, oh, I didn't really want gallons. Maybe I want to change that to. Well, I have a lot of different options here, okay? And switching from volume, maybe I want to switch to area, right? So there's a lot of different tools. Same kind of thing with calculations. I can do, oops. It figured out what I wanted even though I misspelled it. So 36 divided by 5, right? So now it pulls up this calculator, right? So I've got a lot of tools just kind of built in here just by typing in the keywords of what I'm wanting, telling it what I want. Okay. Same kind of thing if I'm looking for movies locally, for example. So I could type in movies, and I could type in the city or zip code where I am. Oops. Okay. And it's showing me what movies are playing locally. I can click on them to get more information. It's showing me theaters in the area, right? So kind of a quick way to get to a lot of different things that way. And once you kind of know some of those shortcuts and those tools, you can be more efficient in terms of how you get to that content. Okay, everybody with me so far? Yeah, question?
If I'm already looking in a page,
Mm-hmm.
do I have to go to the Google space there, search to do it, or can I just type it in the
You can
web
also-
address form and it'll go look at certain Google?
Yeah, so my understanding, are you asking if you're
So
on a
here you
web
are, you're
page?
looking at movies,
Yeah.
and you want to learn more about Annie.
Go to a new tab.
Right.
New tab.
So you're saying if I'm somewhere other than Google, I'm on some web
Yeah,
page?
you're on some
Mhm.
random web page.
Right.
Can you just go up into the,
Yeah, so you can, that's a good question. So you can just go into your URL field, right? Instead of just putting an address,
yeah,
and if you put in a search,
serendipitous, I want to look
Right.
at things that are serendipitous. I
Mhm.
just type it, right? So I don't have to go to Google and then
Yeah,
go. Okay,
Right.
so it does
so there you go,
search
and it
directly
fixed my
from
spelling, yep.
Okay, thanks,
Uh-huh.
thanks.
Yeah, so of course you wouldn't have access to all the tools in the initial search, but just like the
Right.
keyword search when you go to google.com is just the keyword,
And
it's a
like
jumping off
magical,
point.
It goes
But-
straight to Google then.
Right.
This is in the Chrome browser, so it's going to go to Google automatically, because Google owns Chrome.
Right.
If I am in Internet Explorer or Mozilla Firefox and I don't have Google set up as my search engine, it might go to Yahoo, it might go to Bing,
Bing
it
or,
might go to ask.com,
Okay.
depending
Right.
on what you have set up in your selection for those browsers. But if you're in Chrome, it automatically
Goes
defaults
to
it to Google
okay.
when you
Depends
type
on
in
your
that
search.
URL. But just depends on how you have it set up.
Okay.
And even your Safari will jump and change it, like it was changing mine to Yahoo recently. I just have to go back, change my setting. I always put it to Google,
Okay, thank
make
you,
it easier.
thank you. And you do that in your
Settings. You're-
properties?
You're
your
gonna
settings.
set it up in your settings
Okay.
for your browser.
Okay,
What do you want your browser to be
okay,
when you
thanks.
search? And then you can
Alright.
choose it to be Google at that point.
And most browsers do default to searching Google,
Okay,
but you do have the option of changing that.
Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm. So other things you can search by just putting qualifiers in your search field, file type. So, we do this a lot with teachers where we're saying, we're looking for content. We don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. We want to find lesson plans maybe that have already been created. So maybe we're thinking, what's
Point on.
yeah, so I'm trying to think like what would be a good topic we can do as an example.
GSS doesn't
Well, PowerPoint on, fractions or,
We can do that. Or number sense.
yeah.
Just trying to think of a phrase. So again, I'm doing number sense again in quotes, so I get both those words as a phrase, and I'm going to do file type, and I could do
Colon.
yeah. So I did file type colon, and so then I'm going to specify what file type. So this is the extension of the file. So PPT for PowerPoint. Okay. So now it's going to show me. You see in the green area here, it's showing me all PowerPoint files. Okay. I could also put it in as a qualifier. I could put, whoops. I could put lesson plan. Okay, so good place to start. Maybe I'm looking for PDFs. Maybe I'm looking, there's a variety of different media types I could be looking for. Okay, but it does help me focus that way, so I'm not just finding, web pages if I'm looking specifically for documents of a certain type. So a lot of these things, you have on your kind of cheat sheet here, but a lot of these things you can also find within the advanced search area within Google. So we didn't talk about it before, but you may have noticed the little gear icon over here on the right. So if I click on that and go down here to advanced search, you'll notice I have, if you haven't explored this before, I have fields where I can specify a lot of these things, plus some others. So again, I can say if I'm looking for an exact phrase, if I'm looking for this word but not that word. So a lot of different expressions, different ways to search those. And it's giving me a little example off here to the side so I can get more information about each of those. If I'm looking again, searching for within a different region, I can do that. Language, the site that we were talking about before.
Reading level shows up there.
Yeah, reading level. Yeah, so that's good, especially, for the classroom. And then I mentioned, for example, file type. So because I was already searching for PowerPoints, it's defaulted here. When I go into advanced, I can see PowerPoint. And so now I can see other examples. Maybe I don't know all the extension names for all the different file types. So I can click on here and I can choose one of those. Okay?
I'm gonna share about the images. I don't know, are you gonna do the image?
Yeah, the usage rights.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll just go to Google Image to do that. Okay? So again, as you're doing your search, just kind of keep in mind that you have the ability to find some of these, to refine your search that way by going into the advanced search or by using some of these kind of quick starts here. One thing I should mention too, you'll probably notice the little arrow down here from a file or from a search result. If I click on that, it shows me cached. If you haven't explored that before, basically what that does is it's going to show me the last previous copy of that document or website that Google kind of took a picture of or indexed, essentially is what it is. In some cases, I've seen something on a website, and when I go back to it and find it on Google, it looks different. The content's changed, but maybe I need to find what it was. So if I click on cached, I can see the previous version. Now maybe Google has updated their index since I last saw it, but there's a good chance that if I click on cached, it's going to show me that previous version. So maybe there was a story or some article on there, and so I want to be able to see that. Maybe that web page is no longer working, but I can click on the cached version and maybe see what was on there. I mean, some piece of information, contact information that I might need. So just to let you know, that's there as well. So if we can pause for a minute, I'm going to give you guys a little search activity, and then we're going to take a look at Google image search as well. Again, I can do my keyword search here. So I'm going to put in that motto, okay? And now I'm going to get, wow, that's a nice belly shot. I'm getting all kinds of different things related to the Coast Guard, searching for that keyword. Okay, so I have a few different tools, again, like we were doing when we were doing our keyword search of the web before, we can do. So if I click on Search Tools, I can choose size. So something to think about if you're going to use an image in some publication, for example, maybe you're putting together a flyer or something that's going to be printed, you probably want something that's large so that it has a higher resolution. So even if you have to size it down for printing, it's going to print at a better quality. If you get something that's a small image, then it may look pixelated. You may have seen that before in printing something. So you may want to choose large. You can also specify an exact size. Maybe you're going to be putting it into a web page, and so it needs to have very specific dimensions in order to fit within a certain space. So you can choose size there. You can also choose color. Okay, there may be times where you would want to pull your image and make sure it's using the right color. Or maybe you're searching by something where the color of it is going to make a difference in terms of how you're going to use it. So you can actually choose whether you want it to be black and white. A transparent image, again, if you're going to use it on the web and you want it to kind of sit over a background that's a different color, you may want to choose a transparent image. Okay. I could also search, as an example, search beetle, okay, and then under my search terms, I'm going to choose color. I want to see if there are any green beetles. Okay, so I chose green, right? So now I'm getting all the green beetles. Okay, so you see how that works. Okay, under type, I can choose whether it's the image is that I'm wanting is face, photo, clip art, line drawing, or animated. So a lot of different options there. Probably not going to find many faces related to a search for beetles. Well, I got a few. So where it's finding, right, it's got that technology where it's able to detect a face. Right, so I see an image from Beetlejuice. Okay. Clip art, right? Things we're used to having, coming from Microsoft Office. right? Clip art that we might want to use in a presentation, for example. And line drawings, right? Pretty self-explanatory. They also have added animated, which you may or may not have a use for, animated GIFs typically. Time frame, you can choose, again, how current this image is. Is it something that was uploaded recently? Again, you might be looking for something topical, so you can specify that time range. Usage rights, this is a pretty important one if, again, you're using Google image search to find images that you're wanting to put on a website, to print, to use in some sort of publication where you're going to share it out and presume some rights to use. So typically what you're going to want to use is labeled for non-commercial reuse, right? Oops. Okay, so I may need to, so in this case I chose of my classification of beetle search term that are green, that are line drawing, and labeled for non-commercial use, I'm not getting anything. So I may need to change some of my specifications. So I'll look for just any image type that's a green beetle. And these are all the ones that I have rights now to use. So I can use this in my presentation or my flyer or whatever I happen to have, okay? Otherwise, you know, we're not keeping up with our copyright law if we're not using the rights for those, okay? Okay, under more tools, I can also choose to show the dimensions. Again, if I'm trying to identify just the big ones because I want to be able to reuse this and have it not be pixelated. Maybe I want to just see what the sizes are. Okay. You may notice in our search results, we did a keyword search, but you'll see in addition to the microphone icon that we had when we did our web search before, we also have a little camera icon. Any guesses on what we'd be using that for? So we can search based on an image. So we can take an image that maybe is on our desktop. Okay, we have a picture of a flag, for example, and we want to find other places that have, or places on the web that may have images that are similar to that image. So it's actually going to scan that image that you upload, and it's going to find other instances of either that exact same image or similar things to it. I could do the same thing if I say, for example, this image of this beetle. Maybe this isn't going to be the best example, but if I take this image and I'm going to copy the URL here, okay? I'm going to go back, and I'm looking for everywhere that this image exists. So I'm going to click on my search by image. And so again, like I mentioned, I can upload an image, right? I can browse on my computer to try to find that image, and I want to find everywhere that that image or something similar exists. Or in this case, I'm going to paste a URL and search by image. Okay? So now it's going to show me everywhere that this image or something similar, because it's finding that same beetle type in different poses, exists. I can also then see different sizes. So again, maybe this 456 by 382 is too small for what I want. So I want to see all sizes. Okay, well in this case they're all the same size, but in a lot of cases you may find, oh okay, I can find a larger version of this that I can then use for benefits of reprinting. Okay? So those are some of the essential elements for Google search. I'll just mention, I know Tracy wants to get into some of the Google Drive stuff, that you can, when we go into the little grid area here, you can also go into, for example, where am I? I'm going to click on more. I can also go into Google Translate and find translations. I can type text in directly and find translations and translate things into a lot of different language. I can do a lot of different things with Google Translate that way. I can also go into news, okay, and it's going to default to my local news and give me a lot of different information about what's happening locally. And so you can see right now it's already saying, you know, here you can go directly into San Luis Obispo local news and find information directly there, my local weather, all those kinds of things. So all those same qualifiers that we were using before in terms of specifying a site or putting our search term in quotes applies within each of the Google environments, whether it's web search, the image search, news, whatever it happens to be. So it gives you a lot of flexibility that way in terms of refining your searches. Okay? Any questions on Google search? All right, Tracy?
Okay, so now we're going to go into Google Drive, and close up these. All right, so we're going back into what is, for those of you who are new to it, what is Drive, or for those of you who are still trying to get an understanding. So Drive basically is going to be a way to sync what you have existing even on your current desktop or laptop, and taking things from your C drive, your S drive, things of that nature. You can sync it into your Google Drive, and so you can have it available from anywhere you go. And then within that drive, it's going to hold your Office suite from Google with the docs, the spreadsheet, the presentations, forms, all of your documents are all going to be in that. And it basically allows you to give anyone in this room, say, or in another school site or another office, rights to look at those documents. You can have them view it, comment. They can actually go in and edit it. You can all be in the room at the same time editing on something together, or you can be all from your home doing something on a document at the same time. So the difference between having Google Drive versus having Microsoft Office Suite is basically you can collaborate, you can work with many people on those things together. So we're going to do a little test drive in the drive itself. So if you guys can switch over to what I call it, the, I'm going to go back and forth here.
Tish, I had noticed mine says I still need to install the drive onto the computer. Should I move to a different one or just go to
No, can you go check hers? It should be. So under the waffle, they call it, you're going to click on your drive. Most of you had it a few minutes ago. And some of you are just starting into it, and it may have been that you're in the classic view. I'm in the new view, the new drive, and you'll know the difference by it saying new or create. If you're in the old version, it says create. If you're in the current new version, it says new. And the reason and you have the option of changing that view. You can go back and forth, but I personally like the new one because it gives me a really nice, easy grid of folders to look at. And so I would, if you haven't gotten it changed, I believe, under here, under your little wheel, it says leave the new drive or leave classic to the new drive, one of those two options. I keep it in the new drive. Okay, so when I refer to things, if yours doesn't say new, it would say create, if you chose not to go there. Okay, so in here, the first one we're going to do is we're going to go to new, and it's going to be, we're going to do today a spreadsheet first. So would you click on new with me, and you'll see you have Google Sheets. You're going to click on that. And the first thing is that it creates a spreadsheet for you, and it's not saved at this point. It's basically an untitled spreadsheet. So it's not saved anywhere. So the first thing that you'll want to do is to click or double click on the untitled, and it turns it to gray, and it actually says in black right there with a little arrow rename. So I click that, and it shows up in blue, untitled. I'm going to just do Google Essential Sheet Practice. You can name it whatever you want, test or something simple. That pop-up is going to be your saving convention right there. Once you've hit OK, it's now named, and you never have to save again, except for in Sheets. There's one trick to it. If you have a document and you're in a cell and you enter data here, and then you close it, but you haven't moved that cursor out of the cell, it does not save until that cursor, that blue square, is no longer highlighted. So if I typed in test, but close it, and then I want to go back and find my my Google Essential. I'm just going to do a search for it. Essential, and it comes up. It's going to have nothing in it because I did not click out of that box. So if I type in test again and now hit enter or move it away from that square, now if I go back and do the same thing again and search for it, it's going to reopen it for me. Let's see where to go. Do I see it? Whoops, if I could type. There we go. And now it has it saved. So just from our own experience of doing like a document together in a group, we were doing food signups for a potluck, and some people are like, oh, I signed up for that. Somebody else is bringing it now. Well, it just didn't, the person didn't ever save it correctly. And it's not really that you saved, you just have to know that in Sheets, okay? That's the one place that it doesn't allow you to do it. The first thing, we're just going to do real basic on this one. I'm just going to hit some basics on some of them and then spend a little more time in docs. But on this one, if we were to go up to the top, and I'm just going to change it, I'm going to put date, I'm going to type name, class, grade level. I might put reading level, just putting a few fields in there. If I actually am looking at this and I decide that I want, say, people to be adding to my list, but I don't want them to write over that top row, and I want them to save that top row so they all know, you'll want to go in and do a freeze option on that row. So what it is under view, you have the option of freezing a row or freezing a column. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to freeze the row, and I want to freeze row 1. And I want that to stay there so that everyone's always seeing it no matter where they are, which will really help you out on long spreadsheets or data that you're looking back at. So you may need to freeze it. Like you might find your spreadsheet gets too long if you're looking at a lot of data. You might even make that same heading or that same row further down and then freeze that one so that as you go page by page, it's still showing up everywhere. So
What was the freeze at again?
it's under view and then freeze row or columns. Okay. So then that makes it a lot easier for people to go ahead and start typing in answers or putting in the responses to it, and then you start building it, but you're always going to see what your topics are. All right.
You unfreeze that row if you wanted to.
So if you want to go back and unfreeze it, I would highlight that row, go back to view, and then change it to no frozen rows, and it should undo that for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's always something that is nice because you can always, of course, fix or unfix it. The rest of the basics in here, if you just look under your edit options, they're very similar. It's kind of like a simple version of Sheets. How many of you have been in the Google Sheets so far? Have you used it before? Okay. It's very similar to Excel, but it doesn't have maybe all the advanced things, but it does have the basics that you need to do. Obviously, your undo and redo and cut, copy, and paste are all your basics. Okay, you also have the deleting option of your rows as you need to, or finding something if you want to find it and replace it. Those are very basic features. The ones that I just went over, freeze rows and columns. You can go in and add some formulas and do some more technical part. I'm not going to get into those parts because typically we haven't had to use that as much in most of the cases. We're creating more of a basic spreadsheet. You can do your basic operations of insert a row above or below. So right now I'm going to just insert a row above this. So now I have another row that I could put some more data, and I could also freeze that row if I wanted to as well. If I want to have a new sheet, just like you do with your other one, I'm going to put it down here. But now I have sheet 1 and sheet 2 at the bottom. And just like Excel, I can click on it. I can either right click and rename, and I could put page 2. I can go back to sheet 1, rename it, page
Are you doing the copy?
1 test. Yeah, and you can actually even, right here, it even allows you to copy it, like you said, or you could duplicate it. So now I have a copy of page 2 added down here. If I want that same info, but I want to take some of it out, then you can do it this way. You can change the color, which I don't believe you can do that feature. I don't know about it if you can do in Excel, if you can have your sheets with the color. Okay. I never get that fancy on it. So, and then of course you can move them around left or right. It's a little different. I don't think that you actually have to use the left or right versus in Excel. You just drag them. So I think that if I want to move this one right, it just switches over for me. Okay. Again, you can do your functions, adding your charts and your images and your links. You can even go into a Google form and take your form and get the live data or the live answers that it comes in a spreadsheet format, and you can insert that into it, or look at a form directly at the data. You can take the drawing from Google and insert that as well as like an image, only it's a drawing. All right, the format's going to give you your basic features again. And then again, sorting your A through Z, you can, after you start putting in data, you can end up putting your data, how do you want to sort it? If I started having, all different letters here going down, I want to change this, I want to sort it, just the same as, do you want it to go alphabetically from top to bottom or bottom to top? So it's an easy method, just like your normal one. Again, not too fancy. You can then, from the sheet, create a form as well, kind of working backwards. We're going to do the opposite today. We're going to go from the form and look at what a sheet looks like. And then your basic spelling. And then there's a few things for add-ons. So if you're in the classroom, I recommend Flubaroo because it does some self-grading for you. And Autocrat and Doctopus are also some others. Those are all going to just kind of enhance and make your spreadsheets easier. In the business setting, I don't know if Flubaroo would be any help for you. It's just kind of taking data, getting a grade, and helping you push it to a grade book. But these add-ons, if you have some other specifics, what you can do is just hit Get Add-ons. And it has a lot of different options. Do you know some more on these ones?
There's some good ones, thinking about office productivity for doing mail merges. Obviously, mail merge is not a built-in function within Google's Drive.
Oh, yeah,
There's
that's right.
Add-ons that you can do to do some of that functionality that you would normally want to be able to do in your Word or your Excel and PowerPoint.
So once you hit in the actual, when I hit add-ons, it will tell you what they are, and it will let you have a, excuse me, an idea of what it does. This one's a PDF, excuse me, a tool that you can use for Autocrat with your PDF and your spreadsheet. Do you remember on that one?
No, I think it creates a PDF from your spreadsheet data.
Excuse me, I can't even talk right now. Another one is, there is some other ones that have work with your PDFs directly if you want to do stuff from PDF back to your spreadsheet. So that might be the Autocrat that I'm thinking of. Workflows kind of helps you automate things within it. If you're working with spreadsheets a lot, I kind of would cruise through and see if any of these that are in here would help you out. But some of them are teacher related, some of them are business related, and some of them just help you with little things. You can also do the there's a QR code, or I don't know if that would help you on a spreadsheet, but if you needed to do that within a classroom, I would say. And these are all under the add-ons. Once you add it into a document, it's forever there. So it stays with that document. If I share it to somebody else and they open it up and they don't have, say, Flubaroo, and they need to have Flubaroo to like make it, give them the effect that add-on, it will come with that document to them, even if they don't have it added. All right, so I'm just barely touching on the sheets. Do I have any kind of basic questions on that right now? I'm gonna go into another part of the sharing process right now. So if you're in this document you always have the option right here in the upper corner to share it. Right now it's private only to me. And I'm going to show you a few different ways of sharing. So I'm going to click on that. And here you're going to have this first slide, and you either can just get the link and share the link. I don't recommend that way. It's just probably like if you just want the link out there only, but if you're sharing within the office or something, you can specifically type names and then give them an assignment. Do they want, if I'm sharing this with Michael, and I'm going to say, can he edit, comment, or view? Right there is where his choice, where you're making the decision. Do I want them to be able to change it around, possibly mess things up different than I want or not? You always have the option of going back and looking at the revisions though. Or does he just need to look at it and have it viewable to him? He also would have the option to go in and make a comment and say, oh, this looks good, but maybe adjust this, and then you go back and you actually would make the change. Yeah.
When we do try to share with other people, there's the name at Slowco, and there's also the name at gaff.slowco.
Yeah, use the first one.
Don't use gaff.
Right.
Thank you.
The other one's supposed to work, but I've been working with Martin, and there is sometimes it's not going to us like it should. So
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
we all have essentially a Google account, but he wants to go through our Microsoft Exchange. So by doing that, go through your Slowco one when you're sharing within Slowco.
Okay, thank you.
Another part here is you can add a note, and then advanced is the setting that I wanted to share with you. So here's that link that you could share, which is pretty long and oftentimes just makes it harder than just letting them have access directly. Right here it will say I'm the owner and it's only accessible to me. I've owned it, so I can change this. You can have other people be owners with you as well. And right here, now I'm choosing, do I want the whole public web, internet, anyone can go and try to find it. No sign-ins required. Anyone that has the link that Google sends them, okay, versus you copying and pasting it, I just let Google do it for me. So I don't have to take that each time, copy it, put it into a Microsoft Outlook email and send that off. I go here, I might click on that, it will send it for you. You'll get an email and it says Google has, you have a Google Doc shared to you by Michael, and then it will be in your drive. You still have to download it into the drive. So you could also share within the County Office of Ed, but with the link or without. So if you want to keep it in-house only. So if it's a document that has, and you don't want anyone else outside of the workplace to have it, this is the option you want to stick with. Okay.
Tracy, you were saying that you could allow it to go kind of out there, public, that people can.
If it's a
And how is
document
that?
that's not something that's like, student information on it,
No.
then, if say I have student information and it's a data that I have to pass between a coworker, I'm going to keep it within County Office of Ed, share it. I'm just using that example. If it's something that's not, I'm just sharing a document, how to use Google, and I don't care if anyone has the information, I can make it public so that they can come back and search for it, or I can make it that they have it with the link. So-
Tracy, so how many people can you actually share the document with if you did not, in the other,
Oh, and the other one, that field right before,
uh-huh.
right here. Oh, you can share it with a whole bunch of people, and you can share it with, if you have a group that you're often sharing with, Martin can set up, right now it's set up for him only to set it up initially, and then, yeah, so we have like an Ed Services Manager group, and we have a Ed Services group, so we don't have to type in all those names each time. You just go ESS and it will
So
pull up.
Mark would have to set that up for us.
Yeah, if you email him, right now it's set up that way. We're trying to figure out if we can get it differently so that if you need to set up a group, he doesn't have to be the one always doing it. Yeah, but currently he can set it up to make it a lot faster for you. If you have Or if you just, copy and paste your names in there too, you can do it that way. I take it out of sometimes like my Outlook or whatever, and I might put it into I put a Google Doc in and just have like my staff that I'm working with at Cayucas on that, and then I paste it over as I need to. I don't have a group set up for them because they're over at that school site, so that's another option. If it's not something that you need within internally a group, you might do it that way. So, and then you can send a copy to yourself, and you can always add the message to why are you, why are they getting this, or what I want you to use this for. So that's where I let Google do it for me. I put the message in. I don't have to copy it into my Outlook and then make a message, because GAF is doing it for us. So that's where you would do it right there. Okay. All right. So if I'm not here, and say I wanted to actually, let me see. Oh, I wanted to also share it right there under File. That's another way of sharing it, and it will pull up the same thing I just did. Okay. And so there's always more than one way in a document or in a Google Drive to share things. You can rename it, open new things right here. You can make copies of this or actually move it to a folder. So if I decided I wanted to keep this, but I don't want to not know where it is later, I have the option right here to move it to a folder. And before I do that, you have the option of seeing what revisions you had done before, or also downloading it. And let me just roll over the download. You can download here, and this is why it's kind of interchangeable between okay, now I'm not in my Chromebook or I'm not on my Google Drive, but now I want to just go back and use good old-fashioned Excel. Okay, I can still download this as an Excel spreadsheet and go and do more complicated things if I need to. Or I could just download it as a PDF as well. So those are options that you do have if you don't want to keep it as a Google sheet. So you can have a sheet and an Excel sheet. Just those are both available. You can have them downloaded both ways. And sometimes I'll have a Word document of one thing, and then I'll have a PDF of it, and I also will have a Google Doc. Sometimes I want to send it out as the PDF. Sometimes I want to go back and make more technical things in Word on it. And sometimes I'm fine with just modifying it within Google Docs. So those are all your options. So let's move it to, if you have this practice one, just move this to a folder. Okay. Now you might have nothing in here but my drive. So if your folders are empty compared to mine that are building quickly, first thing you could do is either find a folder that you want it to go to. So I have some of this under Ed Tech Trainings, and then I have it under Google Essentials. I could either save it in that folder, and you see as I peck down, it'll give me a check mark on the folder I'm in, or you have the option right here of creating a new folder. So I'm in that Google Essentials. I'm going to create a new folder in there of docs, and then I'm going to say Google Essentials. So I just created a new folder name underneath my Google Essentials. Okay? And then the next step is to hit move. So if I close this completely and I want to go back and find it, I click over to my drive. I'm going to close my drive here. All right, and I have the search box. If you happen to know the beginning of what it's called, you can do like I did before. I did Google Essentials and I started to find it. Or you can click on the left and do the pecking order down. You can go to your drive. In my case, I just did it under Ed Tech Trainings, whatever you might have put it under. And then I put mine under Google Essentials. And then I had another folder, I put it under Google Docs. Now, some people don't organize it like I do. It's up to how you're used to, but one of the trainers came here and he puts nothing in folders and it's just like a big mush pot. He just simply lets Google do the search for him. Now that's counting on the fact that he's going to remember quite kind of the naming convention. But if you're working with kids, for instance, I think it's easier to have some naming conventions set up so that you kind of get them in. They don't always remember what they save things under. I don't remember what I save things under, so I tend to put them under folders. So it's up to you how you do that.
When you have the Google and it has all those, is that foldered right away when it has everybody's documents that are on your drive? Like, are those folders or is that something else?
These are all of
Yeah, those.
these are all of my folders I've created, and down here are all of the things that I have not put into a folder.
Oh,
So I haven't organized any of those. But everything else has a place to land. And so eventually I could either leave these out here or I could drag them into folders as I need to. The thing I always have is if you don't see, are you able to see this on your computers right now?
that's what I have is T's and B's. T for you, B is for Betty.
Okay, so it depends on how, okay, so yeah, and you have this list view. So I just changed it from the folder view right there to the list view. But I have a preference. I go to the grid view better for myself. I find this easier to see. So that's one option right there. You also have the A through Z to sort it. And then I can go and get details, like if you click on this, to certain things. Like if I click on a actual Chromebook, I can get details when it was created, modified, if it's been shared or not, or is there any activity in there, and it will tell me, yes, I created some information in here. Oh, and there's my Chromebook, a management tool. I have a PowerPoint of a slideshow on it, so I can go back and grab them right here as well. If I didn't want to go and find it over there, I can take any one of these and open it. So if I want to open that, it's a PDF. It can be popped up that way too. Okay. So this activity,
How do you get out of the folders back to the main?
right here on the left, you can go back. Right here, I'm on Drive. The next one under my Drive says Incoming. If you're in the new Drive, it says Incoming. If you're in the old one, it says Shared with me. Okay, so Incoming is things that were put out there. So Linda just shared her sheet with me, and that's my last incoming document that came in. So I can find it anytime I'm looking for things by that. This was shared with me at a training last week, and then it just goes back in time. It's like you're able to look at anything that. Now this doesn't mean. Now let me use Linda's as an example. She just shared her practice sheet with me. You'll see when I roll my mouse over it. Okay, you have to be rolled over it. These three little icons come up. One is a downward arrow with the line under it, which is the download one. The next one is the Google Drive folder with the little drive symbol. And the last one is three dots, which I have to look more actions. And that one gives you options of opening it with a different type of tool. You don't have to open it with the sheets. You can open it with Excel if you have.
Does everyone see that little drive folder? Because I don't have it when I mouse over it.
Can you go look and see
I
what
have the
hers?
drive folder, but I don't have the download.
I have the
Mouse
download.
over the drive folder.
Well, you're only going to get this download folder because she just shared it to me.
Oh,
And so mine's,
No, what I'm doing,
Add it to my drive.
organizing my sample documents into my folders.
no, wait, Patty, this is only for incoming.
I'm in incoming.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Linda's, and I have the option right there, it's downloading it to Excel. And because I'm on a PC, it automatically opened it up as an Excel document down here, okay? If I didn't want to download it, but I want to keep hers in my drive, this is the key thing. You have to add it to my drive. So if somebody shares something and it's in your incoming, you still have to put it in your drive. So I just clicked add to my drive, and then the first thing, it's almost like a move. Where do I want to put it in my drive? So I'm going to go. Okay, so I'll go back there.
I mean, isn't the whole point that this is where everything is stored? You don't have to tell it to store it, it's already.
No, it's shared with me. but it's not in my drive because I haven't moved it into my drive yet. So,
That was my problem.
so here's Linda's document. It came in, and I moved it into my drive, but that pop-up whenever I paused to answer, I didn't choose a folder. So now it's just there. It's in my drive, but now I want to move it into a folder. So I first had it here. I added the item. Right now she shared it with me, and then I added it to my drive, and it's just sitting in my drive right now. So I'm going to open it up, and right here is when I would have, if I missed that opportunity a minute ago. Linda, do you mind sharing just another random one with me? If you just do a sheet. Or somebody, Betty, do you mind sharing one with me? So right here, I can just move it to the folder I wanted it into.
Okay, here it comes some.
Okay, so here I'm moving it. I'm in my tech training essentials, and then I moved it over there. And I'm closing that up, and then, so it looks like I have, if I go to my incoming again. All right, so Betty and Linda Betty shared one last. So right here, tree, this is where I said, it came into my incoming. It's been shared, but I haven't decided if I want to keep it in my drive or not. It's there always, shared with me. It will always be here, okay? But it won't always be in my drive folders. It's just a moving process right there. So I add it to my drive. And when that pop-up came, that's when I like to organize it and put it right where I would like to find it later. So I find my folder. I want it in. I've now decided I want it in the Docs Google Essential folder, and I move it. Does that make sense what I'm explaining it as? Okay. Okay. Yes.
How do we find our slow co-workers,
Sloco what?
our co-workers, so that we can connect with them and start receiving? Like, I can't find Betty. How do I
No,
find
so,
her?
okay,
Share,
so,
you mean? Yes, you can start sharing and.
So-
You just start typing it like with an email. It should
yeah,
pop up.
just how you, so if I take
Got it.
Betty's right here, and it was hers, and I had, I just put that document in my tech training folder here, my Google Essentials. I kind of buried it. Here it is. If I open that document, I actually can do, oh, let's see, why is it not letting me? I didn't download it in. Oh, it's wanting to go and open with, here we go. I'm in my Google Doc. I opened it. It wanted to open in Word when I downloaded it because I have the PC. I keep bouncing between a Chromebook. My brain is. So here I could share it, Linda. I'm in a doc, which is sharing features the same as on an Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
So if I wanted to do it L, and then see how I typed L and then B. Now
Yeah.
you're coming up next.
Okay,
And then I just, like I would do on my Microsoft Outlook.
all right, right.
And we have some Google Ed Services general one
Okay,
that we can share it with too.
all right.
So I'm going to go over, and as I'm looking at my drive, just a little hint about, as I mentioned, organizing it. There's a way to change these to have colors, okay, if you want to have it, or name them, or make them. So if I wanted to change this, so say I go to my Cayucas PD, or you can go to any one folder that you might have created. If you first want to create a folder, you can go to the new button, as I mentioned maybe before, and you can create one. But what if I also want to just grab a folder off my desktop?
Yeah.
I can do that by folder upload or file upload. I can take one document, or I can take the whole folder now. And if you have two screens on your computer, I just take from one screen, and I grab my folders off my desktop or off of my C drive or off of my S drive, and I drag the folder into incoming, and I take the whole folder in one sweep. It's much faster now. You didn't used to be able to do that. You used to have to just do documents or files, but now it's the folders will go over. So if I had a new folder made, or I want to I can either make a new folder right here and name it. Okay, I just showed that. Or I can change a color on one. So if I click and make it go in blue, and I right click on my mouse, then you have the option of different things. Sharing the entire folder, okay? That's another feature that's nice. You don't have to share every individual item within your drive. You can share the whole folder. You can move it or get the link, or you can make it add a star to it to make it important. I'm going to just go to change color. And you can choose, for instance, a color if you want to change it to. And when you click out of it, it will change that so you have it. So in some cases, I have friends that do like everything ed tech. I might do all in red just so I'm always finding those things in red. Or if I have a topic area that I want to always find, I might keep it a color by that. And it sort of helps you for finding things later sometimes if you have key areas that you're looking for. So it's up to you on the color part. It's not necessary, but it does make it a little easier. I'm gonna, and all of these, by the way, I'll share out with you afterwards. I'm just kind of running through this document, and it will be available. I'll share this document with you so that you could always go back and look at how do I do that sharing option again? How do I do the color thing? So this is what I'm just running through with you. Okay, so don't feel like you're lost. I'm working off of this computer looking at that while I'm teaching it with you, okay? So, but you'll have this available. Next one I want to go into is just a real quick 101 on forms, okay? And then I'll do docs with you. So the 101 on forms, the first thing, so I'm going to go back up here. I'm just closing out those two documents that I had before. I don't need them. I'm going to go to the drive. And then again, back to your new button. And then you'll see that you always see the first three: Google, Docs, Sheets, and Slides. And then you have to hit the More button to get the rest of your options. So from there, I'm going to hit More. And then you have forms, drawings, and then all of these other things that you see on mine are apps that I added on. And one app is worth mentioning for working in the office might be Lucid Press, okay, and Lucid Chart. Those two have a lot of different publishing type options that you could use when you're working on documents in the office. So the rest of them,
To make flyers, is there one that's handy for making flyers?
yeah, they're different options. So those are things you would get as an app to your Google Drive. And I can show you how to do that. It's basically going to the Chrome web store, and then you would type in Lucid Press, and there's an app for it. There's also an extension, but go for the app in this case. The app would take you to the more complete thing. So what I'm going to do right now, not to confuse you, is I'm going into Forms. All right, let's see if we get this. And the first thing that I always want to do is I always go and change the untitled form to a name, upper corner. And if I ever want to get back to my drive, that little button right there, and I'm just going to do that before I change anything, will take you back open to my drive. So if I happen to hit that, I'm back here. Okay? So if I got, oh, that's not the right place I wanted to be, I can just hit this button here. So first thing is clicking in here. I just click twice, and I'm going to change the untitled form name, and I'm just going to call it GESS form. Maybe I'm going to add Google so it looks more, okay, Google Essentials form. I'm going to put the word test on it, and I'm going to hit OK. Now it's saved for me. The next part, and Michael, you might have to answer this, make sure I have this right. On my form settings, just the require San Luis Obispo County Office of Ed to log in to view this form if you want everyone to have that. If I uncheck it, then no one has to log in. Is that how we did it?
Right.
Yeah, okay, so does not require a sign in, so I simply unchecked that requirement of having a login. It's going to give you a warning, because now it's like, oh my, you're not going to have us log in, and we aren't going to be able to tell you who we are, so you have to uncheck it. You say that you're okay with that, you can proceed, it's safe, and now anyone could do your form for you without having to have a GAF account, okay? So we did a form the other day, and we sent it out to different people to get topic ideas on EdTech Talks, and we were able to have anyone do it regardless of their district having Google Apps for Education or not.
Yay.
So, yeah. And you also have the option of only allowing one response per person. If that is the case, and you're really tracking that, then you have to have a login. Or you can shuffle the order of your questions too. All right, so it gave the title right here on the form. And then if you want underneath it, the next thing is form description. You can type a description, test to see how a form works, or you don't have to type anything there. Your next part is it gives you always that first question to start with, and you have some tools. You have the pencil, I think copy, and then the trash. So duplicate it or trash it. If you don't like that question, delete it or edit it. But the first thing I do is I choose the type of question. Do I want it to be a text, a paragraph text, a multiple choice? Do I want check boxes for them, a list of them to choose from, a scale, a grid? There's a lot of different options. Do you want the date and time? So if I did just a regular text question, how would you, oh, I'm using text talk, you use a form? So, and you can add, if you want a hint or help text, you have another line to explain it further. And then their answer would be here. And if you want it to be a required answer, you check it or not. And in advanced setting, do you want data validation? Oftentimes some people want a validated thing. You can go with numbers that have to be to validate. There's a whole bunch of different advanced tools that you can use to make sure, for instance, on a student answering something, that they are answering within a range that is validated. That's not just a random number or answer if you're doing a math problem question or something. So you might direct them towards getting the right type of responses that you want. And there's a whole bunch of different parts to it. I'm not going to go into the advanced part right now. And you would hit done. And that's my first question. And then if I wanted a second question, I hit add item. So now, when would a form come in handy to use? And then I'm going to make this one have a list to choose from. And you can also then bounce them to another page based on that answer. So here, I don't know, you could have answers. When would it come in handy to use for a quiz? Exit ticket. I'm just going to make up some things.
That's like ABC, like multiple
Yeah.
choice? Or is that different than multiple choice?
Well, it is like a multiple choice in this case, and you can even, I think, can't you change the 1, 2, 3 to,
Change the word. Is that what you're asking?
what's that little right there? That little.
You can click the drag and move it.
Okay, yeah, you can move them around if you want your options to be in different spots too. So you're moving the little crisscross changes it, but it is like ABC answering tree, that's correct. Quiz, test, I don't know, I just had 3 answers I'm putting. Okay, and I hit done, and now what they're gonna do, well, it's somewhat, this one's like a pull down tree. It actually did it as a pull down. When I hit done,
Oh.
it's right here is a pull down. I'm not in my live form yet, but if I go up here, I can see what that would look like. So see, here's a live version of it. First is like typing your answer. Second, pull down from a menu and choose an answer. I'm going to close that and I'm going to go back into my item here. I'm going to hit one more type. Multiple choice actually has its own standalone right here. So what is your favorite answer? And I'm just going to go really simple. A, B, C, D. And hit done just so I can show you what the difference would look like. So now they would have the actual choices of bubbling in an answer there. And we've done it with a grid where you can have rows of data going across. And I'll pull that one up, it'd be easier than explaining it. If I go in and show you, do we have it in here? What do we have it called? What was that thing called? The form that we just did on the ETC topics? Or maybe that would be easier.
Tech Talks?
Oh, that's why I'm not in the right folder. Tech Talks. Ed Tech.
So you're searching in your Google Drive right now.
Mm-hmm. Topics. I'm looking to show you, oh, here. See, I just did a search. I couldn't remember where I had put it, but I was looking at Michael going, what do we name it? And so we EdTech Talks. I have this as my form. And if I look at the live version of it, I have incorporated an image. I've explained what we're doing. And this gives you the option of putting in rows of relevance, low to high and unsure, and then they had to answer each row one of those data points.
And how do you incorporate an image?
An image? Okay, I'll show you that. And then they had answered space too. So, all right, so if I'm back here, and
Is that what the grid one was, you said?
That was great.
oh yeah, that one I just did, showing you with it was a grid option.
Scale.
Yeah. Scale will just give you like a 1 to 5 type scale. The grid makes you add rows. So if I did it like this, and I had sample grid, and then I did it, it will give me my answers and my columns. I just had one column, but in the case I just showed you, I had like 5 columns going across, and like 10 rows going down, so it just builds it. Okay, so next thing, if I go in, that's the live version, and you always know the difference between if you're in the live or not, because I get this little edit. So I'm in the, like, this is what it would look like. Do I want to edit more on it? I can either close the tab I'm on or just go back to the one I was editing in. So I go and edit. And you notice how I keep getting different versions open up here. I can just close those, and I'm still working in a live one. So these ones can just go away. So the next thing in here, change your theme. So I did a theme by clicking up here to change it. And you have like different choices that they have of common, little choices pre-made. Okay, so, I'm going to have to go with the ski lift one because it feels like I'm ready to go skiing already soon. All right, if this actually turns to snow. Okay, so that's one of theirs already pre-made for you. But what I did, and then it just gives you your background. Okay, and they change these often, so what you might like one day might not be there the next time. So
Once you've created it, wouldn't it keep with that?
yeah,
Or
it
go
should
away, right?
keep with it. But like Mark had one that I really liked the other day, and I'm like, where'd you get that? He's like, oh, I think they don't have it anymore. So he could share it with me, and then I could pull that one.
Right.
But yeah, it wasn't available. So Okay, so if I go back up to the top here and get out of my fun ones and I go to a basic one and see how I went to basic and then it has the word customize underneath it. Under there, I can customize and now I can go in and change, and I have to remember how we added that header. Oh, we added the image later. Oh, I remember. It's under a question, huh? Okay, so you can end up going in and choosing an image for your header if you wanted to. And you can either pick one that they have, or you can pick one from your own drive or your own edit or your own JPEGs or anything that you think. So I have album or my drive. I might go in, images in my drive. I have different pictures. Okay, if that's one of the things you wanted, a banner, say. So that's an option, okay? And it looks like they even have some that are like kind of live moving ones too. So now that's a banner or a header. You can add to your title. You can change the font and color. You can change the font and color on your description. You can do the same for the question. All of your text can be changed as I just keep scrolling down. Okay. Or the form background can actually be changed by the entire color by pouring the bucket. Now I'm way down on the bottom here. It also has a border color, but the border is really thin. I don't know if you noticed I put hot pink around yellow just now, but that border doesn't show up very detailed. That's not very easy to see. And then there's one more, page background. I'm going to scroll down here. And here you can make your page background have images or color. Let's see. So if I go to image and I'm going to go to my search, and they actually have stock images and they have life, and I could just go to Google Images as well. I'm just going to go to life, and I don't know, I'm going to type dog. I don't know if they'll have a dog there. No, well, they kind of have a dog. Here's one. But they'll go into all the old pictures. This might not be such a great background, but I can test it. And I can select the one I have with the dog, and it will put it in the background on the outside edge. That's one way. Yeah. I've done images that are, sometimes they look okay, sometimes not. If I go back to, so I'm in theme right now, but if I go back to edit question here, there was one more way of adding a picture inside, and I think I can remember. It was new to us the other day, so you might have to help me out just to make sure I'm remembering correctly. Was it add item? Do you recall? How did I add my picture the other day?
It was up in the title, not in the question.
Oh, insert image. Oh, and it does let you right there insert a video as well. It can get pretty technical.
So is there a way to utilize a theme because you like the text formatting and all that stuff, but still insert a graphic?
Yes, and
Well,
so I
I
just
inserted
inserted a
graphic.
graphic right now, and then I can make it smaller, center it left or right, justify. So I'm going to center it, and if I click on that picture, it usually lets me decide on the size too. In this case, it's letting me actually crop it. Sometimes it just says small, medium, large, or the original.
Yeah, I'm not,
I chose it from the insert button, and then I put an image in.
yeah, I have the image, but now I can't edit it. Where are you to edit?
Okay, let's see. So
So edit this part, yes,
Right.
you've got to do that. Now you.
Yeah, but now it's not there.
and then I'm going to add a video. And if I go to our YouTube channel, our channel is called YouTube or Slowco, and I could get a video right here of all the different things we have going on. So I just put this, and I hit select. Slowco, whatever the title was. And there's that video embedded now into this form. And I'm just going to look at my live version, and it's kind of a messy form. I would not recommend making it look like this. But this is showing you all the things that you could kind of do. Here's your plain background, here's a header, here's an image background, here's a picture embedded, here's a video embedded. So you could really make it have a lot of different things, although I would be much more on a, make it more user-friendly. So that one's not so user-friendly. Now, if this is my live form, and when I'm done, I can send this form out, and I either can share it with this URL. Here's the key. I can get a shortener to it. And now it's a goo.gl forms, and then it has this code. It's still not the shortest thing to remember, but it's easier than that whole long URL. And you can copy that, embed it. You can share it through our Google Plus now. You can also just add names into it. But what we did is we just took this and opened it up on an iPad and had iPads out on a stand, and everyone just came up and typed it, screened it for us. But you could share this to a website if you were a teacher and put it out to your students too, or to a coworker, put it into the email to them. Okay, and then when it comes out, you would actually end up getting a Google Doc, a sheet that has all of your questions. You could freeze that so you can keep seeing that, and then you can get your responses, and it will always give you the live version of what's coming out. I'll always give you an updated version. Yes.
So if we embedded some of our own videos or pictures or something in there, does the person who receives it have the right to take those, copy them, and use them again? And does Google own those after we put them on there?
Well, everything's under GAF. So like what I think that like when you're posting to Facebook, for instance, you're putting it into their server, they're hosting it, they're having control of that. I don't know. And in the case of using your own personal thing, think in terms of using it in a work setting. If we're putting
like my picture, I'm putting in that document that I've taken. So can someone else take that picture out of?
Depends on how you share it publicly.
Okay, if you share it just within your group.
If you're sharing it within your group, and they can then have editing, viewable, depends on what it is, if they have rights. Right now with the form, I believe that it's just going to stay in the form. You're still going to be the owner of it.
They can't download that item.
Off the form, Michael? They could download the picture off the form.
Yeah, just like any image, you can kind of right-click and save and do those things in terms
So
of.
they still have access to those.
Yeah, you're basically putting
Yeah.
something that you want public, or that potentially could. You're sharing. You just have to think of what you're sharing and what level you want it to be available. So, but I'd have to get more specifics on that question. But I mean, thinking in terms of work things, I'm going to share this, use it in a form, and share that form. It might be a picture like a EdTech Talk logo. It doesn't matter if that goes out. If it's a picture of a student, I'd make sure, if I was sharing something of my class, I'd have to make sure that each student had the rights to let me post that picture. So you have to look at all the SIPA compliance parts.
So it's public domain, when anything you're putting out there, watch out.
But this is under the GAF window. We're working under our Google Work thing. So it's not your personal one. What you do on your personal one is different.
Right, but I'm saying, like, you might take a picture of a student, so it's your you've created a picture and you're inputting it, not just like the stock pictures. And someone then might download it, and then they have access to the,
Yeah.
Careful,
no, it's not about being careful, just about knowing all the processes that can go through when you're posting it, like if it is a student or an activity or.
Well, if it's a student-related thing, I err on the caution side, and I only go to my student information system. and I make sure before I put anything out there that has a student that I have clearance, and like, I mean, if I'm going in there being filmed by a KSBY, I have to make sure that they have that right to be on camera. So anytime on the student part, a teacher needs to 100% be SIPA compliant and going and checking with their student information system. If they aren't, then they're not following the right rule, and they need to do that, because sometimes a kid's picture could get posted on a class website, and even then they have to make sure that that's allowed. So, you know, but they should be following that, because it is part of their digital citizenship and their SIPA compliance that they're going through. When I was teaching, it was being taught and reminded to us. So I think in that case, but on that, erring on that cautious side, we have to look. I could talk to you more afterwards.
I just wanted to make sure I was thinking that it was, and I wanted to make sure that.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch more on here, but it basically, this other Delaney Johnson, if I'm saying her name correctly, she created Is There a Doc in the House? And I have a reference to going through how you would create a new doc, and create a new doc is very similar here as what we just did on the other two. Titling it, and it has a whole bunch of slides, indicates the file type where she's pointing right here. So that blue is the doc. The yellowish orange color is going to be your slideshow, and then the green is your sheets. So, and then here's your body of your text. And what this will, you can go back through, and it has all your tools highlighted, and it will show you once you've documented. We just kind of went through it in a sheet, and we did it for a form. So once you've changed it from untitled to titled, how to move it. You also have the option right here, if that little folder, if I want to move it from that folder, that's just another way. You can right click and move. You can go here, you can go file and move. There's like 3 or 4 ways to do it. So this one right here is showing you, okay, I'm using the little folder, I'm moving it. And this one then also gives me, again, my tools. The cool thing within a Word doc, you can go in, if you're using this in the classroom setting, it's nice. You have the research part. And since I'm going to just barely briefly touch on that, but if you're researching, say they researched on waterfalls, and they hit that first, they chose research, they found an image, they're able to drag the image over to the document, but they're also then able to get the citation of that photo, so that it's not just, you know, oh, great photo, I want to take it. So it kind of goes back to your question. It's like now citing who owns that photo, or where you actually took that photo, and who's the citation from. And so the cool thing with that research function, it will automatically do that citation for you, and then it allows you to crop the picture within your document as well.
And Tish, this you'll be sending to us?
Yeah, so this one I'm just going to touch briefly, but you can go through and see if those ones would be helpful. Are you in the classroom or in the office?
I'm thinking of my son who's at UTech.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that would be perfect for
But
him.
no, I do documents for Debbie and stuff.
Okay, so yeah.
But yeah,
For him, it's a great tool for
I'm
him.
getting as a presentation tonight.
Oh, yeah, it's really nice. It has the feature of citing anything that he's finding. They can do a lot of research, but of course they want to typically go, oh, cool, Google, and they drag it and they copy it, and that.
They're doing everything on Google. That's why it's kind of like
Yeah.
doing dual purpose here.
Yeah, so then they can end up make sure you're citing it properly, rewording, you know, not just stealing it from the internet. So their favorite way to go about. So, and then sharing it here, like I showed you a few minutes ago on the public versus the link versus a specific person. Those are your sharing options for collaboration. And then editing options. Do I want to edit, comment, or view? Same thing with docs as what we went over on the other. And then say I did actually share with a group of you a document and I wanted your input. Then once I've shared it, then you can start seeing the comments. You won't be able to see their comments until it's been shared. And once it's shared, and you'll see notifications and comments. So that chat will actually start. It will open a window right here, and now it will allow me to talk to the people who are all on that document if we're all on it at the same time. There was a little group of girls from Los Osos Middle School last year that went to the tech showcase, and on their spring break they were all collaborating on a Google Doc on their project, and so they could see each other and talk and chat and work on their project over spring break and not even have to be at each other's house. So I thought it's a great tool, and you can actually you can actually go to their comments. You can see comments, and you can even see if they made corrections and things. And if you don't want that one, you can go into the revision history and say, okay, let's go back to the other version that we had. It might be a better version. So
Does each person's information type in a different color or something so that you know who added it?
it does. It types in a different color. Hers is pink right now on that one, so it does go to different colors for each person that comes on. So sometimes I've sent out a document, and I've seen immediately like 5 people open it in the office, and they all come up in different colors. And it usually gives your first letter to your name by it, unless you have a picture. If you have a picture, it will show the picture like we just saw of that person. If it doesn't have a picture, like it will say T for mine, and I know Dan's in there. I've seen D and all different things for it. And then you have the tool here to edit, suggest, or view it too, to go in and make your changes once it's shared.
Lisa, you're talking about sharing, can you share it like with a long Excel list of people, from Excel, like hundreds of people?
Yeah. If you had a whole bunch of email addresses that you want to share, and you have 100 people that you want to collaborate on a document, it might be a little confusing, but I mean, it depends on what your goal is with it. If you need, for instance, we were with the math council, and we needed to find out across the state, every district, whether you're going traditional or integrated.
Yeah.
So there was a document put out there, and there's every district in the state was answering that. So it became a very big collaborative document. So just by a county, like here, we then had 11 districts answering. And then every other county had all of their districts answered.
Copy and paste rather than having to type in emails. That's what
Oh yeah, definitely. Copy and paste. So add-ons for the Google Docs, there are a few. And like he mentioned, the label merge, I think the Avery label merge is one. Thesaurus. And there's a couple others that are EasyBib. And that one's probably really helpful for your son tonight. This, if you don't have this, add it on your Chrome extension. EasyBib's a good one to use. And then Mail Merge is another one. So those are a couple that help you. And you can always go back to see what you did last. So you can always go back and say, I don't like what I did, and find what it was that you need to. And then again, downloading options. I can open it again in my PDF or Microsoft Word. Those are the 2 common ones. And I can return back to my drive after I work in that at any point. And I didn't hit that button. That's funny. And there's my drive doc. All of the docs in my drive, or I can sort it by folders or by the topics. So I don't know if you have any questions. I know I went through the last part a little quick due to time and getting you guys home, but we have our contact info at the end here, and then if you don't mind just popping up, I'll put your name. Just make sure I have all of your emails to share that document directly with you.